I haven't done Skype for a while. Everybody's using Zoom around here, so it's a little bit different, but essentially it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing, but I can't record on Zoom, unfortunately, on iPhone. I tried it, but it now it's working. We are connected.
Good.
Yeah. So firstly, I want to thank you for accepting my request and accepting to talk with me.
Yeah, thank you for asking me. I appreciate
So
that. You're so cute. I love your smile.
you too. I love your smile too.
Oh, thank you.
It's so positive and it's so it makes people to smile.
Yours too.
So I thought to introduce you to my audience. So can you please introduce yourself?
Yes. So that's an interesting request because I have so many names, but I believe I'm being interviewed as an author, and my pen name is Annjea Morgan LIewor. And so I will introduce myself that way. That is my pen name that I write under. It's not my actual name, but that's the name I write under. So my actual
And
name is Kathy.
Kathy, okay. So I have to tell you sorry because I made you wait for a long time yesterday.
That's okay. No problem. We all have technical difficulties, so that's the way it goes. I get it.
So today we'll talk about the work that you do and the books that you have published and when you started writing and about yourself completely.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah, so tell me about your work.
Well, I've always loved to write, and I started writing poetry when I was just little. I mean, like kindergarten. And of course, poetry is not really useful. I mean, it's useful for expressing your own emotions, but other than that, it's not something it's not commercially interesting, sadly, because it is a nice art form, but it's not something that sells a lot or whatever. But in third grade, I wrote a little book. It was just a little, I don't know, maybe 50 pages or something. And my third grade teacher was very impressed, probably more impressed than she should have been. And she said to me, "You're going to be a writer." And it's funny when you say things to children, sometimes they really listen to you. And I really listened to that. And all my life, I believed I would be a writer. And I always wrote very easily. Maybe because she even said that when I would walk in high school and to English class and sit down to write a paper, I was never afraid. I knew I could do it. And I did not actually start writing books. I wrote newsletter articles and little things during my life, but I didn't actually sit down and write a book until and clearly I'm very much an adult here. Um, I guess I wrote my first actual novel about 6 years ago, and it was really bad. Believe me, it was terrible. But I published it anyway because I wanted the experience of publishing. And since then, I have written two books that I think are good, and I have a third one that I'm writing now, and I also write screenplays now. So that's how my writing journey began, with a third grade teacher who believed in me, I guess.
So your grade teacher saw writer in you in that age.
Well, yeah, I don't know that she really did, but she said she did, and that was all I needed, was for somebody to say it, I guess.
So
Oh, and go
when
ahead.
you came to know that that is truth.
Immediately, I think, because it gave me confidence to write immediately. And even though I did not start writing books and things immediately, whenever I did have to write a report, even as a kid, after that, if I had to write a book report or I had to write an essay question on a test, I just always felt confident after that.
Nice. So what are the books that you published?
So I have two books right now, and this is the older of the two. It's called Sunday's Child. And in spite of the name, it's not a religious book at all. It's a novel. They're both novels. And then this one is my latest, and it's called The Venus Glass. and they both look like they might be um, romance novels, but I would not characterize them as romance novels. They're fiction novels, but they don't, and they have romantic elements in them. So they're both love stories in a way, but they don't have happy endings. And so because of that, they don't have horrible sad endings, but they don't have that romantic castle in the clouds happy ending. So because of that, I don't call them romance novels. I just call them, well, I call them adult fiction. Somebody told me that means porn. They're not porn at all, or erotica or anything like that. They're love stories. The Venus Glass has kind of a werewolfy thing in it, so it's kind of I guess you call that paranormal fiction. So, and Sunday's Child is considered multicultural because it's about a family that moves to Houston from Puerto Rico. So,
Okay. So what is the third book?
the third book I don't market anymore. It was the first one I wrote. It's called Cards and Consequences. I'm not sure you can even buy it anymore. I would have to see. I would love to rewrite it. I think it just needs a rewrite. It's a cute story, but I didn't really know what I was doing yet. I was kind of flailing around. So
Okay.
I might rewrite it, or I have other stories to write. There's lots of stories to write. So I'm never lacking for something I want to write. I have about probably three or four right now that story ideas that I would like to write, and I'm working on one of those, and I'm also working on a full length feature film screenplay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm sure you'll be enjoying because you're doing something that you love.
Yes. Well, that's what it's all about, and these are hobbies. It's a hobby for me, and I'm glad of that, because if I did it as a full-time job, it might become a job instead of fun. So I get, people say, well, if you do what you love, you'd never work a day in your life, and I understand that. But if I'm writing something for somebody else that I'm not really interested in, then it might not be fun anymore. So I like the fact that I have another job, have another 8 to 5 job that I do every day. And then the writing of the books and the screenplays, those are hobbies for me. So, and I like it that way.
So you love yourself other than 8 to 5.
Yes. Uh, eight to five, I do what I have to do to fund my hobbies. Unfortunately, money is a necessary evil in our society. So we all have to make money to survive. It's just the way it is. We have to have money to pay for our house and food. And my son lives with me, which I love having my son live with me. And um, he's 23. And we all have things we have to do. So and I like my 8 to 5 job, but I love my hobbies. So
So when you started writing, how much time you took for the first and second books and for the third book?
let's see. Okay, those are good questions. So the first book took probably 6 months. And I wrote it as a journal, and it was an interesting experience. This was the very first book, and a friend of mine, I was kind of going through a tough time in my life, and a friend of mine said, well, keep a journal. And I had done that during different times in my life, but I wasn't doing one right then. And she said, keep a journal, because then when something good happens or something bad happens, at the end of the day, you can write it down, and it kind of helps get your feelings out. And of course, being a writer, that was very true. So I was writing my journal one night, and I thought, wow, this is super boring. I mean, my journal was like, today after work, I went to a business dinner and so was there. And it was just boring. So then I opened up a new file on my computer, and I named it something like um, fantasy journal or something like that. And I wrote my journal, but I changed it and made it interesting. And it was still based on what had happened to me, but I wrote it as more interesting. So my journal was boring. I went to a business dinner and Sean was there. And in my fantasy novel I wrote, I went to this business dinner and Sean was there, and Sean bought me a drink and came over and sat with me. And then when we were leaving, I saw Sean holding hands with another girl, and I was devastated. And, none of that was true, but it was something interesting that might have happened if my life were more interesting than it is. And I don't have a boring life, but nobody has something like that happen every day. So I started doing that. I started every day. I would write my own journal, or not every day, but whenever I wrote, I would write my own journal, and then I would write in my more interesting journal. And after a couple of months, I thought, well, this is not bad. I'm going to do something with this. And that became my first book. And a lot of the point of my first book was to learn the process of writing the first manuscript, doing your own, self-edit, hiring an editor, finding a self-publisher, creating a cover, getting an ISBN, all the things that you have to do to publish a book, because I had never done that before. So that was, kind of a learning process. My second book is completely different from that. Sunday's Child, that story came out of nowhere. I don't know where it came from. I wrote it in the first manuscript, not the whole book, first manuscript in 32 days. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do anything else. I had this story in my head, and I just had to get it on paper. So after 32 days, then, of course, it was another 6 or 8 months to press, because that's when the real work begins of the self-edit and the editing and the self-publisher and all, finding the publisher. All my books are self-published right now. So this, Sunday's Child, 32 days to first manuscript, about 8 months to press. The Venus Glass was about a year to write, and then really fast to press, though. After first manuscript, I think it was only 3 months, three or 4 months to press for that one. So it's about a year for me. It takes about a year for the whole thing, give or take.
So we'll talk about the 8 to 5 for some time.
Yeah, the 8 to 5. I graduated university, and I thought I wanted to change the corporate America. I wanted to write software, actually. So I came out of university in computer science, and I was
Wow.
a hacker. I was out there with everybody else in the late 90s and early 2000s with the Y2K debacle and the whole thing. And eventually I got sucked into management, and I have not actually written any software since 2005, which is kind of sad in a way, but that's okay. I went into management, and now I do contracts. So from 8 to 5, I look at legal language and negotiate contracts, and it's still related to reading and writing and stuff like that. And it's fun to me because there was a part of me when I was younger that wanted to become a lawyer, but I never went to law school. But when you deal with contracts, you get involved with that things. You get to work with the lawyers, and you get to look at all the legal language and learn to understand it. So that's fun too, and I do enjoy doing that.
Computer science, law, and management, and now writing.
Yep.
So this is your life.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Sometimes I wonder how I got here from there. It's been a crazy journey, definitely. But life is full of wonderful things. And one of the things that my friends know is kind of like my little motto is something amazing happens to every person every day. And most people just go through their lives and they don't recognize it. And if you turn your mind on, and that's kind of what my first book did for me. If you turn your mind on and you look for that amazing thing, you'll start finding out, well, it's not just one, it's like 5 one day and 20 one day. And sometimes it's just little things. And sometimes they're huge things. Sometimes it's something huge, like you'll get in an elevator and Vanna White is in the elevator or something like that. That's amazing, obviously. But sometimes it's something small, like my hands were full and someone opened the door for me. And that's amazing. That somebody noticed that you needed help and helped you with that without even without even thinking about it. I mean, that's amazing. So there's so many amazing things and sometimes they're bad amazing. Sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that person did that to me. That is amazing. But most of the time they're good things. So, to me, that's what life is all about, and seeing the opportunities, and just loving people, just knowing that if somebody's mean to you, maybe they're a mean person, but maybe they're just having a bad day. And if you can respond um, in a way that touches them, maybe that'll make their day not be bad anymore, and they won't be mean to the next person they see or whatever. So
I'm sure a lot of people who watches this video will get what you're saying.
I hope so. I think that's one of the things I'd like to spread, around the world, is the idea that um, we're, one race, human race. We're all here together, and we argue about stuff like borders on countries and whether we have to wear masks or not, and uh, whose religion is right. But when it all boils down to it, we're all the same on the inside. We're all human beings, and we're here together. And if we could just pull together and say what you believe is what you believe, and I'm rooting for you, and then what I believe is what I believe, and then let's just set that aside if we don't agree, and just agree to be human beings together on this planet.
You're right. So I'm a computer science student. I did a master's in software engineering and
Oh my gosh, how wonderful.
graduation in computer science and engineering and master's in software engineering. Now, right now I'm preparing for cloud computing, like it is GCP, Google Cloud platform. I'm
Oh
preparing for the job,
gosh.
and I'm doing the same. My passion is to make videos and know about different country people and their experiences and what they did and what they are doing and the what they believe in and what is working for them in for their development and what they are doing to the world. So all these I thought to capture and put in my platform. So I'm doing that, like you are doing something that you love. I'm doing something that I love.
Well, that's great. And I just subscribed to your YouTube, and I'm excited to go look at all your videos and learn just as as you learn, I will learn. So that's great. And I love the internet. I love how small our world has gotten, that we can do things like this now. I mean, 30 years ago, we couldn't do this.
Yes. And you was into computer science and engineering, and you did graduation in that.
I
And
did.
have you ever felt that I'll go and develop a software and work on coding?
Yeah, I do miss it. I miss it. I remember the days of college and, up all night, and it was fun. I loved it. I loved solving the problems. I love breaking problems down into logical pieces. And I think that's helped me in all areas of my life, that training of how to take a problem that seems completely overwhelming and breaking it down into pieces that you can attack, and attack them one at a time, and then put the pieces back together. Um, I think that's a wonderful thing now that we know how to do.
Right. So at last, so your third book is not going to publish.
It's not ready yet. No, so the first book I don't really market anymore. You can probably still find it on Amazon, but I don't know if you can buy it. It may say no longer available, but you can definitely buy The Venus Glass and Sunday's Child on Amazon. And then my next book that I'm working on now is called The Venus Effect, and it's related to The Venus Glass. It's a prequel. So you're supposed to read it second, but it happens earlier in time. So kind of like Star Wars, how, they made the first three and then they made the three that were beforehand. So it's kind of like that. Even though it's the second book, it explains some things that happened in the first book, but it happens like back in the 1800s. And then there will be a third book, and I haven't decided what it's going to be called yet, but that'll wrap that series up. So The Venus Effect will probably be published sometime in 2021, probably in the summer, probably late July or August next year. And I'm working on a screenplay for a friend of mine. It's his idea. I'm developing the story, so I'm kind of like both the developmental editor and the screenplay author. And it's called Remodel Malibu. And it's going to be a really fun PG-13, great feel-good kind of movie. So I'm excited about that. I've written a lot of screenplays, but only shorts. I've never written a full-length feature film. I've never done anything over 24 minutes before this. So
Nice. Yeah, you're doing a great job.
thank you.
So at last, have you seen my previous videos on YouTube?
I haven't watched any of them yet, but I have subscribed to your channel.
So I'm sure you will love watching it because there are a lot of people who are from different professions and authors, talking about their life experiences like you did now.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm definitely going to point all my friends there as well.
So, do you have any good words to the world who watches this video?
Yeah, and I kind of said them already, but I'll say them again. Something amazing happens to everybody every day. So train yourself to look for that amazing thing. And
Nice,
you'll never be depressed again. I mean, it will always, every day it will lift you up.
amazing. Keep inspiring people, keep doing what you love, and keep smiling. Your smile is fantastic.
Oh, thank you. You too. I love what you're doing, and I'm excited to have talked to you today. Thank you so much for asking me.
Thank you again. And can I put this video on my YouTube and on
Yes,
social media and on internet with your permission?
everywhere you would like. That would be great.
Thanks a lot. Keep going.
All right, you too.
Yeah.
Great
Take
connecting
care.
with you.
Yeah.
All right,
Me too.
bye.
Bye. Bye.